We're back on Let's Have It Out. My guest in studio is SAFTU General Secretary Zwelinzima Vavi. And it's time for a call. We have Aubrey from KZN on the line. Aubrey, good evening to you.
Good evening, how are you?
I'm fantastic, thank you. What's your question?
Good evening, Comrade Vavi, how are you?
How are you, Aubrey? And good evening to you.
Thank you. You really spot on the matter. Capitalism will never solve the problems of the world, nor problems of South Africa. It is exploitative. It creates inequality. It creates havoc. Look at the havoc that has been caused by the United States, the supreme capitalist country. They've messed up the whole world. They interfere in every internal affairs of countries of the world. They've messed up the Middle East, messed up Africa,
yes,
messed up Latin America.
Can we get your question, please?
It is not a question, it is a comment.
Okay.
I want to reiterate what Comrade Vavi said. But it is exploitative. It is not a system that could help us in South Africa.
Thank you very much, Aubrey, for your call.
We've got to
Thank you
stand
very
up
much.
against the bush.
Thank you very much. Can I come back to the question about the Reserve Bank? You're absolutely right that the Federal Reserve in the US, they've got so-called two mandates. How can the Reserve Bank achieve then the second mandate of full employment, for example?
Let's talk in the context. Our Reserve Bank have one mandate: keep the inflation at between 3 and 5-6%.
Yeah.
So we achieve that every year, in and out. And we are told by the economists like you, who are coming from the orthodox right-wing perspective, that we are on course. But then let's look at the unemployment rate. We're sitting at 37% today. The Statistics South Africa was telling what we know every 3 months. We get to get the same dose. It is getting worse. It is getting worse.
So how can you
at least in America, they know that if there is a crisis of oversupply, undersupply in the economy, and if there's a crisis of a declining levels of demand, like it is the case in South Africa, because people are too poor, they will use their Reserve Bank to intervene.
We've got another caller here. If we can print a lot of money, we will all be wealthy, but I'm afraid that's not going to help. But we've got Takuzwa from Kempton Park. Good evening to you. Can I have your question, please? Takuzwa?
Yes, how are you?
I'm fantastic, thank you, sir. Thank you for calling in. Can we have your question?
I'm okay.
Can we have a question?
Okay, it's a comment, right? I think socialism, right? It promotes laziness to some extent, right? Look at all the countries that have followed the socialist path, like China, Russia, against countries like the USA, Germany, and all those developed countries in Europe, right? Those who have followed the socialist path are well behind.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for your comment. Well, there's somebody else, I guess, more or less on
your side.
On my side.
But he doesn't have correct information.
Yeah.
For example, he says China is a socialist economy. I disagree. Politically, that's what is inspiring them, but what they are practicing is not necessarily.
No, they're practicing a successful economic model. That's why they become wealthy.
Exactly.
Because they liberalize their markets.
But then my friend from Kempton Park is wrong. China have lifted hundreds of millions of people out of poverty.
Yes.
China is going to be the biggest economy in the world.
Yes, they are.
In few years now,
because they're getting rid of socialism.
So he's wrong.
There's just a last question. A last question I want to ask you. So we're not going to go to socialism because that's the end of the world. Just go to all socialist countries. But in a world where you're trying to move into socialism, and we have a kind of a socialist government in South Africa. And I must say, the policies of the South African government is quite destructive to South Africa's economic performance. Mike, but this is again a philosophical question. If we live in an environment where the state threatens to confiscate my property, do you think I should be forced to pay taxes?
Which property first?
The individual's property.
Which state is threatening to take away individual
The state
property?
is...
Unless you
No, I don't want to make
diving
this a
into the
land
discussion.
debate. No, this is a philosophical question. If the state threatens to steal your property, should you keep on paying taxes? It's not about the land.
Well, that state, it depends on for what purpose. For example, there has to be land redistribution in South
Yeah,
Africa.
I don't want to make it a land debate.
There has to be wealth redistribution in South Africa.
That's my question,
The
perhaps.
crisis of property poverty of the majority have to be addressed. So in that context, we've got to talk about the property rights in the context of the need that South Africa can only truly develop when the crisis of poverty of the majority has been addressed.
Just a last question, and just a quick one, please. Would you like to be poor in a rich country or poor in a poor country?
We are poor in a very rich country in South Africa today. There are few, it's not even 1%.
Yeah.
We are told only 3 multi-billionaires have wealth that is equal to what the 46 bottom of the population owns.
Mr.
10% owns 90% of what everybody else owns. I don't want to live in that society.
SAFTU's General Secretary, Zwelinzima Vavi, thank you very much for joining me tonight.
Thank you very
This
much,
was
sir.
a wonderful discussion, and I think we are, the two of us, we're a good example of two completely opposing views that can actually have a civilized discussion. Thank you very much for coming to me tonight. Well, that's it for Let's Have It Out. Remember to keep the conversation going on social media with the hashtag LHIO. Tomorrow night, it's Agri-Economist Tabin Kosi will be in the chair. You don't want to miss that one out. My name is Dawie Roodt. I had a wonderful evening. I hope you have the same.